Assalamualaikum kamu.
And a great morning it is. Great morning it is. Our speaker this morning is someone we have all come to know. He's been steadfast. He has been zealous in the cause of Fahami. He was our speaker in February, I believe, and so he's back again. And then he has some very pertinent information. And so I know, hey, what he has this morning, I believe it's a continuation, but everything is fine, and all of us going, I know, hey, I won't keep you waiting any longer. All our priests, Raw Hotel.
Thank you, for that introduction. I'm greeting you in the name of our ancient language, Salam lakum.
Assalamualaikum kamu.
As I was preparing for today's lesson, it just dawned on me that today is Easter, a Christian holiday. And I decided to do something a little different, but still a continuation from a couple of months ago. It's still a nice honor of our High Priest pt.2, and I'm going to continue the lessons I started last week, and I'm going to go back to something new to enlighten my Ethiopian Christians, or Christians brothers and sisters around the planet, about the significance of today and how our ancestors and the whole Christianity was based on the teachings of our noble ancestors. So, without any further ado, I'll go ahead. So last time we spoke, I showed the 7 zones and how each zone has a different effect on the people that live in that area. And we showed that the Torrid zone was our beginning for the Kamite Ethiopians, and that was our creative beginnings. So I'm just going to continue that, and I'll head on to the other lesson I prepared. The Torrid zones includes all the areas of the earth where the sun reaches a point directly overhead, at least once during the solar year. In lands of the temperate zones, that is, the lands north of the Tropic of Cancer and south of the Tropic of Capricorn, the sun never reaches an angle of 90 degrees over the lands below. That is, the sun is never directly overhead. The Torrid zone is the hottest section of the earth, and there are 2 annual seasons in this section of the earth, a dry hot season and a wet hot season. So last time I showed how the Torrid zone, the equator, 1,000 miles above the equator and 1,000 miles south of the equator, 1,000 miles north of the equator, the tropics of Capricorn and the tropics of Cancer, and how that area is the Torrid zone. The Torrid zone is the area of the earth that receives the greatest outpouring of solar energy and solar intelligence. This is a fact known to our ancient ancestors, and they illustrated their understanding of this fact by incorporating it in all of their artwork. They portrayed it on vases, temple walls, frescoes, papyrus rolls, coffins, etc. The intensity of the outpouring of the solar intelligence in this section of the earth was the causation of the creative beginnings of our ancestors, and they became the fathers of all mankind. And the High Sheikh taught us, and we, even yesterday in our discussion, the fathers of all mankind was one of the revelations the Holy Fahami brought to the rest, to the Ethiopians around the globe. And how did we become the fathers of mankind? In fact, and I said I will go back to High Sheikh Abdullah. A few weeks ago, he enlightened us how our ancestors was masters of astrophysics. And continuing, the High Priest Peter Arab say this: today, our Kemite researchers are still a bit behind, but there is a growing knowledge in support of the 1920 revelation by the Fahami prophet of Amun-Ra, Paul Nathaniel Johnson, Fahami Ra Rasul, an essay he wrote called "We Are the Ancients," in which he declared, quote, that there is no place on earth that has not been made holy by the soles of our ancestors' feet. He further revealed for the first time in the history of this age that, quote, our ancestors were the builders of every land on earth, which means there is no place on this earth we did not explore, and there is no place we did not learn spiritually what constituted. There is no place on earth our ancestors did not explore, chart, and assign celestial governorship to. That is a spiritual guardian for every section of land on earth. Everyone. The Fahami taught in the Holy Family Gospel he wrote for us, for the race, for the Ethiopians around the planet, that every people has a guardian angel or spiritual president. In other words, our ancestors charted and spiritually communicated with each of the spiritual forces or orishas or voduns that are the guardian and spiritual presidents of every section of land on earth, or archangels, I guess, or mala'ak. In Giddish we call them mala'ak, or the spiritual forces or orishas or voduns that are the guardian and spiritual president of every section of land on earth. Now, to further illustrate this, in the chapter 1, in the Fahami Gospel, in the chapter 1, called Son of Man, the Holy Fahami, and there is a picture of the Son Man. It says, Son Man Adam, or Christ Man Ra, and it says, this was revealed to the Holy Fahami prophet of Amun-Ra in 1920, and revealed to Professor Paul Nathaniel Johnson, Fahami Ra Rasul. And the man in the sun, and his wife is the woman in the moon. Now, in that chapter, there is a science that it was revealed to the Holy Fahami Ra Rasul. And how is it our ancestor knew and communicated with every spiritual guardian angel or orishas, spiritual president of the land? So with that, in order to explain this, I'm going to read from the lesson the Holy Fahami wrote for us called Surah, Son of Man, 15,000 BC. So I will connect this with this lesson. And in the meantime, I would like my Christian Ethiopians around the planet to pay attention to what I'm about to read, which was written by the Holy Fahami Ra Rasul back in the 20s. And Surah, Son of Man. And this will prove and will let us know that today Easter and the resurrection of Christ was founded on ancient Ethiopian teaching, and how if we are going to be Christians, like the High Sheikh told us, we need to know the foundation, where Christianity came from. So with this lesson, we will see this. Surah, Son of Man, 15,000 BC. His Siri, or Osiris, did not like the rest of the ancient kings and queens, called himself a god or a son of God, but called himself the Son of Man, that is, the Son or Enlightener of man. After returning from his worldly adventure, Seth, a wicked king of Egypt, being fearful for his own throne and jealous of the popularity of Osiris, conspired to put him to death. For the people held him as king of the Ethiopians, but he called himself a prophet. In fact, that's exactly how Christ or Jesus Christ called himself a prophet, and there is a if you read Mark 6:4, where he said a prophet is not, Jesus was quote saying, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin in his own house. So that's referring himself as a prophet. So Osiris says here was, the people held him as king of the Ethiopians, quote, but he called himself a prophet. His Siri was the father of many sons and daughters. Horus was his firstborn, and among his descendants were Ham, Hamaruk, Cush, Putah, Mizraim, Canaan, Canaan or Kenya, Saba, Sheba, Assur, Nimrod or Nephiltis or Heth, Sidon, Sidon, Hanok or Enoch or Anak. All these were families of his Siri, son of Ptah, whom Seth slew. They civilized many countries and built many beautiful towns and cities. Father Osiris was very wise. He taught men agriculture and cattle raising, arts, science, reading, writing, numbers, also the science of medicine and all of the useful things of life. He was a king, a righteous ruler, honorable, just and pure. He was meek in manner, kind to his friends, but terrible to his enemies. In stature, he was like a giant. He wore a mitre of red, a vesture of white, a coat of green, leg covering of brown, and his shoes were black. He began to be a holy and a mighty one in the earth. His titles were called Son of Man, the Ancient of Days, the King of Kings, the Great Judge, the Resurrection and the Life, the Closer of the Book of the Dead. It's very interesting because this title of him, called the King of Kings, that was the title of the Ethiopian emperors for the past 2,000 years. Okay? Even the last emperor, Emperor Haile Selassie, or Rastafari, his title was King of Kings. But not a lot of Ethiopians know that that was the title of ancient time, of Osiris was. So the Ethiopian emperors was taking after the Osiris title of King of Kings. Okay? Yet, with all of his great power, he desired not to cause bloodshed in the earth. So he too gave his life in the endeavor to further civilize the world and to enlighten man. For this cause, he was crucified and cut into 12 parts, but not a bone of him was broken, for even his enemies considered his very bones sacred. He was the spirit of the sun, and on the day of his death, there was darkness throughout the earth for a space of time, and until the 12 parts of Osiris were found again and brought unto one